I'm going to change my guitar tone for this one. There we go. See, I have a few go-to tones that I use, and then that way when I switch guitars or use different guitars for different things, you just dial it in from there and call it a day.
Sounds super bluesy to me.
Yeah. A little bit thin sounding. I like that. Yeah, kind of cool.
Nice. Yeah. Cool, man. All right, guys. Today we're doing another blues guitar workshop series for you. And thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. My name is Dan Denley, founder of guitarzoom.com. This is my good friend, Steve Stine, guitarist extraordinaire. Yep. And so we're doing a blues guitar workshop series for you guys. And this is, I don't know which number it is. It's one of the videos in this. We're doing a whole bunch of these. It's impossible to keep up with, actually. But we have definitely talked about soloing, blues soloing. We've talked about tools and touch and tone. We've talked about the blues scale. Today we're talking about playing a major 12-bar blues. We're going to have one on the minor 12-bar blues, and then we're going to have one on playing blues in any key. And that's just what we have planned for you so far. So if you enjoyed these blues guitar workshop series, definitely subscribe and hit the old notification button so that you can get notified of when we do the live sessions. All of the live sessions, guys, are going to be recorded for you and put on the channel so that you can go back there in a nice playlist and check it out. If you would like to learn how to play the old 12-bar blues in major, then please keep watching, keep listening wherever you are. If you want to learn it even faster, you can go to guitarzoom.com and check out Steve's new course. It's called Blues Guitar by Steve Stine. The end.
Very nice.
So teach us, my friend, how to play a 12-bar blues.
Yeah, again, rhythm is so important, and it's easy to get lost in all this stuff. So I thought instead of trying to throw all of it into one discussion, let's break this apart a little bit so it all kind of makes sense. So basically, you in terms of blues, and really in any style of music, you really have the world of happy major, and then you have the world of dark, depressing, sad minor, right? And blues can be done again, from a rhythmic sense. We're not talking about soloing now. We're talking about creating rhythm. So blues can be done in a more happier context, or it can be done in a bit darker context. So today what we want to do is we want to focus on learning the 12-bar blues with major chords, okay? Which is how you more often than not would probably hear blues anyway. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to pick a key. I'm just going to go to the key of A, which is the 5th fret, right? And I'm going to make a power chord. We're going to start with power chords, and then we'll build out from there. So if you knew nothing about the notes on your guitar, and you knew nothing about theory at all, nothing, okay? You could play 12-bar blues by simply using power chords, using 3 different power chords. The first power chord is going to be played at the 5th fret here. The second power chord is going to be played right underneath that. And the third power chord is going to be played 2 frets higher toward the body. Okay? Now, we have to give these names, though, so it makes sense to us. And then once I get done talking about this, I'm going to expand and actually tell you a little bit about the theory if you don't already know that. Okay? So we're going to call this one the 1 chord. And again, the reasoning will come later. This is the 4 chord. And this is the 5 chord. 1, 4, 5. Okay? So when we play blues, the first thing we have to do is we have to organize these in a sequence of chord changes, which we call the 12-bar or 12-measure blues. Blues is generally constructed off of 12 measures, although blues, again, can do whatever it wants. There's 16-bar blues, there's 24-bar blues, there's 8-bar blues, there's all kinds of different things. But we're talking about a 12-measure sequence. And that's what I want to talk to you about right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take those 3 chords, we're going to play them for 12 measures, but we have to put them in an order. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this into 3 groups of 4 measures. 4, 8, 12. That's the easiest way I've found to try and explain this. So the first 4 measures is just going to be this 1 chord. And again, we're just playing it as a power chord at this point. So we can take that and we're going to just add a bit of a blues rhythm to it. So I'm going to give it this. So I'm just counting it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. This is my third measure. And this is my fourth measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I have to go somewhere. So I'm on the second group of 4 now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to that 4 chord, which is this one right here. We labeled this the 4 chord. And again, we'll talk about why, if you don't know, in a second. So I'm going to go to that 4 chord for 2 measures, but I still have 2 measures left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the 1 chord for the remaining 2 measures. So my top sequence here of 4 measures is 1 chord. My second sequence of 4 measures is the 4 chord for 2 and the 1 chord for 2. Okay? So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Then I go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm at the end. I'm on the last 4 measures. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to play 5, 4, 1, 5, which means 5. Remember, we label that 5, 4, and then 1, and then I'm going to return back to that 5. So the last 4 measures, is needless to say, is the most active. I have to keep changing every measure. So I'm going 5 for a measure, 1, 2, 3, 4. Going to the 4 chord for a measure, 1, 2, 3, 4. Going to the 1 chord for a measure, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going back to the 5 chord to end this whole thing, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's my 12 measures. Now if I put this whole thing together in a sequence, I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit so I can kind of talk at the same time here. So I'm starting at the top. I'm going to play 4 measures. I'm going to speed this up a little bit so it doesn't take so long though. So here we go.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Second measure. Third measure. Fourth measure. Then I got to go to the middle section, which is the 4 chord, remember, for 2 measures. Then back to the 1. Now I got to get down on the bottom 4, which was 5, 4, and 1. And then it returns to 5. And it just starts all over again. Okay? Now,
Nice.
I'm giving it a rhythm. It's not the only rhythm. I'm giving you a 12-measure sequence. It's not the only way to play this 12-measure sequence. There are many variations of these sorts of things. But if you don't know how to play the blues, this is a great place to start. Okay? So, before I go on, because there's more to this, but let's just stop there and see if we've got any questions or if you have any questions.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is, guys, the whole concept here is that we're just trying to lay the foundation. Steve's laying the foundation of all the blues kind of that, you know, like you said, there's lots of variations, but if you don't really understand this 12 bar, the variation part gets really confusing because you can throw in minor chords, you can throw in like,
Well, that's the thing is, again, just like any other language, essentially, it's the variations become endless, right? But if you were to talk to anybody, if you were to talk to Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top about the blues, the first thing he's probably going to, like if you said, I don't know anything about the blues, the first thing he'd probably talk to you about is 12-bar blues. He's not going to go into 24-bar blues or 8-bar blues or a jazz blues sequence if you don't know blues. The first thing you'd probably do is learn just a simple, straightforward 12-bar blues, because if I was to get together and jam, like let's say I got together with a group of people and I was going to jam, maybe I want to try out for their band or, you know, whatever it is, and we want to jam together, the first thing you usually do is simple things. Or if I go out and see a band and they want to get me up to play, right, to do a song, you know, you don't choose the most difficult thing in 30 seconds to go, hey, what do you know, right? Usually you just go, hey, let's jam some blues in the key of A, or let's jam some blues in the key of G, right? And you don't go, well, is it 24, or is it 8, or are we doing a jazz improv? You know, it's just straightforward 12-bar blues. Now, if they make little adjustments in their rhythm while I'm jamming or something, I'm going to hear it, right? But this sequence, this 12-measure sequence, is not only the best place to start, but it's probably the most popular one that you're going to see out there, okay? So the next step is to take those power chords and turn them into bar chords if you know bar chords. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this A power chord into an A major bar chord. Right, so I'm playing 5, 7, 7, 6, 5, 5. And then I would play my D as a D major bar chord, excuse me, which is going to be 5, 7, 7, 7, all done with my third finger. And then 5 over here with my first finger. And then my 5 chord would be this one, which is also major. Okay? So needless to say, in order to play these major, you'd have to know your bar chords, or at least learn them to be able to play it this way. If you don't know bar chords, you could play it as power chords and you could have a ball, right? But if you want to move on, the next thing would be to play them as bar chords. So now it gives it a little more variety in terms of the way you strum it too, because I could be doing something like... See, because I have more strings I can strum, I can do more with the palette of sound by doing some thicker strings and some thinner strings and things like that, where when you're playing power chord, you kind of only have that one sound, you see? So I'm still keeping that kind of rhythm going. 4 measures here. But see how much the rhythm, the strumming plays in the sound of this thing? It's not just the chords. So you'll notice that I'm strumming and palm muting and doing some different things in different places. And again, these are all conversations we can have. The guitar course talks about all this stuff. But, you know, it's learning to, again, just like we talked about in the other discussions, it's learning to make it sound like music. That's what you're looking for. Okay? So we've converted all those power chords into bar chords. The last thing I want to do, so I don't bore you with this whole thing, is convert them all into what we call 7th chords. And again, don't get hung up on the terminology and all that sort of thing. But I'm going to take my major chord right here, my A major, and I'm going to take my pinky off the guitar. And you get this really colorful sound, which lends itself really wonderful to the sound of blues. Well, I want to do the same thing over my 4 chord and my 5 chord, which we are going to go back and talk about what those terms mean. But so when I go to my 4 chord, which is the D here, D major, I need to convert that into a D7 chord. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play 5, 7, 5. That's coming from my bar. So I'm barring, and I'm putting my ring finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string and my pinky on the 7th fret of the 2nd string. And it sounds wonderful. So that gives me that bluesy sound over the 4 chord. And when I want the 5 chord, I just take this same thing and move it up. Now, with those sounds, if you were to take that minor pentatonic we talked about, it's going to sound really nice over that, okay? Or the blues note. See what I mean? So they all fit together really wonderfully, and the nice thing about this is when you're learning blues, which is where a lot of people first start learning how to solo and stuff like that, is because the rules don't really, if you knew all your theory and all that stuff, it all doesn't really make sense at this point anyway. Blues is all based on sound and feel and things like that. So that's what's really nice about this is you can learn how to play your blues, your 12-bar blues, whether it's power chord, whether it's major bar chords, whether it's dominant 7th or 7th bar chords, whatever it is, right? This is sometimes referred to as a dominant 7th, but you can just call it A7 or D7 or E7. And then you can take that minor pentatonic we talked about and you can slap that on top there and it sounds really cool.
Dude, yes. Yes.
Oh, I know, it's awesome.
I love this
when
stuff.
I learned how to do this, like this is what I would do with my friends. Either we were playing Iron Maiden or Ozzy or Slayer songs, or we'd be jamming this. And so this was my first exposure to not understanding a thing about music theory, but learning to feel this rhythm. You know, we'd listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan, and you know, I was a big Gary Moore fan when I was a kid. but I never understood anything. But it was just the ability of being able to take those chords and have somebody play them, and then I would, jam over the top, or vice versa. We'd always go back and forth. I'd play 12 of rhythm and then solo, and somebody else would play 12 of rhythm, right? And you go back and forth. And it's just fun stuff to learn how to play. So that's how this is built, the 12-bar blues using major chords. Now, let's clear up the terminology here of 1-4-5. And again, I'm not going to get real deep into theory, but understand that if I'm playing A, D, and E, which are the 3 chords I'm playing, I'm technically in the key of A. A is my main chord. And I always tell people key really is like playing a baseball game and going to home plate, right? That's the key. That's where you want to get to. That's what everybody's waiting for, is that home plate. First base is fine, right? Second base is fine. But it's home plate you want to get to. So this A is more important by far than the D or the E. The D or the E want to go to the A. They want to bring the ear around to come home to that sound of the A. So if we were in the key of A, that means, again, A being the most important chord, if we counted up on our fingers very simply and I went A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E, D, E, 4, and 5. So that's where those terms are coming from. Now, there's sharps and flats and blah, blah, blah. We're not going to get into all that key signature stuff. I just want you to understand that that's the basic idea of where the terms are coming from. The beautiful thing as a guitar player is even if you don't really understand it, you can see that your 4 chord is located directly underneath you, and your 5 chord is located 2 frets higher this way. So that's what I always loved about it, is because when I learned the blues and I learned 1-4-5, I didn't know my theory. I didn't know anything about major scales and things like that. I just knew 1 was here and 4 was underneath. And 1-4-5 made sense to me, but only in a only in a titling thing. 1, 4, 5. Whether they're A7, D7, D7. But that was enough for me. So if somebody said, oh, play 1-4-5, let's do 12-bar blues in the key of G. Okay, that's cool. So G, 1, 4, 5. And then my scale would be there. Again, we'll get into that discussion later, but that's the idea. So hopefully that helps.
Dude, this is awesome. Guys, I hope you're enjoying this. This is part of the Blues Guitar Workshop series that we're doing for you. This is all about playing the major 12-bar blues, what the 12-bar blues is. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you missed the beginning of this, no worries. It'll be saved for you there on the playlist at the GuitarZoom YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit notified. Be notified of the next session. If you want to learn all this stuff, go there and watch all those playlist videos on the Blues Guitar Workshop. If you want to learn it even faster in a step-by-step way, check out Steve's course. It's called Blues Guitar by Steve Stine, and it's now available at guitarzoom.com. Dr. Stine, I love saying that, professor extraordinaire,
Yes.
Professor of Modern Guitar Studies.
Yep.
Where should we go from here, man? This has been a really awesome session and fun.
Yeah. And again, I think that's enough. In the next session, we're going to talk about converting all of this into minor. So if you did want to play minor blues, which one of my first experiences, I mean, there was The Thrill Is Gone from B.B. King, which is still one of my favorites, but by far and away, it's a song called Still Got the Blues by Gary Moore. And I still, to this day, it's one of my favorite songs on the planet. And so I always found minor blues to be just really powerful. And me as an individual, I'm really drawn to minor blues. Not that I don't love major blues, but there's just something about minor blues. Probably my metal past. I don't know. Well, my metal current, I guess. But there's just something about minor blues that I've always loved. So that's what I want to talk about in the next session. So
that's going to be awesome. I'm really stoked about that because a lot of times the minor blues are a little slower. They give you more time to solo and think about what you're going to do. So that's going to be a really cool session, guys. If you want to make sure you don't miss that, make sure you subscribe and hit notify. I want to thank everybody for being here. This has been super awesome. We really appreciate every time you guys show up to one of these live sessions. It's just a blessing and a privilege to be here with you guys and also to be here with Steve. Every time we get to do this, man, I'm just like, this is so fun.
I know, it is a lot of fun.
That we do this and try to help people, and it's always awesome. Steve, thank you so much, guys. Don't forget, all of these Blues Guitar Workshop series are going to be there on the playlist for you at the GuitarZoom channel. just go to YouTube, type in GuitarZoom, click the channel, click on playlist, and then it'll be there for you. Blues Guitar Workshop. And of course, if you want to go deep into all of this and learn it step by step, you can check out Steve's course. It's called Blues Guitar by Steve Stine, and it's available at guitarzoom.com. All right, big guy. Anything else you want to add or close us out?
I think that's good for now.
All right. Next session, guys, the minor 12-bar blues. So